How's it going, YouTube? I'm back in the video, and today I'm talking about why Damian Lillard will never win with the Portland Trailblazers. And now, obviously, they made it to the Western Conference Finals this year. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like winning the NBA Finals, winning the entire league. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about, and winning consistently as well. Because as we know, they aren't a very consistent team. They got bounced in the first round last year, bounced in the second round a year before that, and now they made the Western Conference Finals. So they're not a very consistent team at all. Now I'm going to say why they will never consistently win at a high level as long as Damian Lillard's on the team, as long as he's with the Portland Trailblazers. So I'm going to be getting to all the reasons why I think that. And if you're a Portland Trailblazers fans, please don't jump down my throat. Y'all had a very good season. Damian Lillard's an absolute beast. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just going to be giving some reasons why I think they're going to be stuck in mediocrity for as long as they have Damian Lillard on the team. So without further ado, without running on too much, let's get right into this video. So for my first reason in this video is going to be that they do not have enough talent. Now this is by far the most obvious one, and like probably the one that everybody's talking about, and the next few points will be ones that I don't think many people are talking about and or people don't realize as of right now. But I mean, at face value, the Portland Trailblazers, even when fully healthy, just do not have enough talent to win in a extremely loaded Western Conference, and they definitely do not have enough talent to make it to the NBA Finals. As yes, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are one of the best backcourts in the entire NBA. Don't get me wrong. Damian Lillard's a superstar, top 5 point guard, maybe even a top 3 point guard this year, and then CJ McCollum's a top 10 shooting guard, maybe top 5 shooting guard in the entire league. So don't get me wrong, a very good backcourt. But after those two, I guess you can throw Jusuf Nurkic in there as well. He's becoming an all-star level player, and he can say he becomes an all-star level player. I think that's his ceiling. So now they're going to have 3 star level players. But even with that being said, even though CJ and Jusuf Nurkic, they're only all-star level players, Damian Lillard's the only superstar level player on that team. And when you have to go up against people like Houston Rockets and Golden State, who has Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, 2 superstars, and Chris Paul and James Harden, 2 superstars, it's going to be very, very hard to win those series against them and when you ever have to play them. So we've already seen that they don't have enough talent, as when they do go up against some of those elite teams in the Western Conference, they do not have enough talent to actually beat them at all. As a team, the Golden State Warriors without Kevin Durant were able to 4-0 sweep the Portland Trailblazers with pretty easily as well. I mean, they really couldn't do much. They shut down Damian Lillard pretty well, shut down CJ McCollum pretty well, and they game planned very, very well for them. So with that being said, I just don't think they have enough talent at all to compete with the top of the league, just like Kevin Durant said before they even started in the podcast before the season. If you remember that, like the video and comment down below if you do remember that. But yeah, like I said, my first reason, they just don't have enough talent. But now for my second reason for this video is going to be that they are in the Western Conference. Now what I mean by they're in the Western Conference is that obviously the Western Conference is the stronger conference out of the West and the East. But just think, if you put them in the Eastern Conference, you could see them, like I would legitimately be able to see the Portland Trailblazers compete with the upper echelon teams in the East. Like maybe outside of Milwaukee, I could see them actually competing with Toronto and competing with the Philadelphia 76ers just because of how good Dame and CJ are, and they kind of match up very well. But when you put them in the Western Conference, now yes, they could get lucky like they did this year and not have to play Houston or Golden State to the Western Conference Finals. And they got very lucky because they're on the opposite bracket of both of those teams that have been running the West for the past 2 years. And I mean, they got very lucky, and they had to play the OKC Thunder, who weren't, obviously we saw that they aren't a very good playoff team, and then they played the Denver Nuggets, who are still an up-and-coming and developing young team. So I mean, they were able to get very lucky and make it to the Western Conference Finals and have the easiest road possible to get there, while the Golden State Warriors had to go through the Clippers, the Houston Rockets, and then the Portland Trailblazers. And we saw once the Portland Trailblazers had to play the elite team in the West that they just were not no match, and they did end up getting swept 4-0 by them. So I mean, even though that they have a pretty good big three, they still were not able to compete with the Western Conference teams. But in the East, all you need is a pretty good big three. Because look, they play the Milwaukee Bucks, Damian Lillard's better than Eric Bledsoe, CJ McCollum's better than Malcolm Brogdon, and Jusuf Nurkic is better than Brook Lopez. So they match up very well. Toronto, Damian Lillard's better than Kyle Lowry, CJ McCollum's way better than Danny Green, Marcus Gasol and Jusuf Nurkic at this point in their careers are about to even wash. So I mean, they match up very well. But when you look in the Western Conference, Steph Curry's better than Damian, Clay's better than CJ. Obviously Jusuf Nurkic was injured. So I mean, they just don't match up well at all, in my opinion, in the West. So if you put them in the East, I think they would be much, much better. But now my last reason for this video is going to be that they cannot add talent. Like, it's not a thing that they just don't add talent. Like, it's not like they have bad GMs. It's just that they literally can't because they are so mediocre. Since they're always an average team or an above average team, they're never going to have a high lottery pick or a high first round pick. They always pick mid to late in the first round, which prevents them from adding any high quality, very good young talent to the team, so it hurts them drafting. And since they're such a small market, they usually can't pick anyone up in free agency, and usually what those small market teams do, they tank for a few years, build through the draft, and become good. Well, they cannot do that because they drafted Damian CJ. They hit 2 home runs in the draft, but now that they have that, since CJ and Dame are so good, they always lead them to the playoffs, but since they always lead them to the playoffs, they never get a lottery pick, and they can't build around Dame and CJ, and since free agency, like I said, they're a small market, they can't add any real talent from there, which affects them a lot and makes them mediocre year in and year out, and they're stuck in a very big dilemma, which is why I'm a big advocate why they need to trade CJ or need to trade Jusuf Nurkic. So I think they definitely need to make a big move, a big trade, or at least attempt to offer a ginormous contract at someone in free agency, because if they don't, they're not going to get any better and they're going to stay mediocre, and assuming that they don't get lucky in who they have to play in the first and second round of the playoffs, they probably won't be seeing the Western Conference Finals for a hot minute. And like, I just don't think that I don't think it's that their GMs are bad. I just think they literally just cannot add enough talent due to the circumstances that they are in, and it's not even their fault because they made 2 very good draft picks, and that's why they're in their current situation that they are in. So I mean, let's just recap what I said. Not enough talent. Yes, they have a big 3, a very good big 3 of CJ, Dame, and Nurkic. That's their big 3. All 3 of them are all-star level players in my opinion. But when you look at everybody from there, they drop off a lot, and they just aren't that good anymore, and that they don't have enough talent to compete with the upper echelon in the Western Conference like Houston and Golden State. So I mean, that's a very big thing. And then also, I mean, they just can't add talent due to the current circumstances they are in. But unfortunately, guys, that's it for this video. So comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that the Portland Trailblazers will never win with Damian Lillard? Do you think Damian Lillard will ever make it to the finals with Portland? I want to hear our thoughts in the comment section below. And if you did like the video, put a like button and the subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world to me. And if you did, like I said earlier, I hope you have a blessed day. Could have a blessed day. So you need to have a blessed day. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah, blah, blah.